Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of drawing and sketching. But just before I get into that, I wanted to do a little quick ramble, but you can skip in the timestamps below. So I've set up in a new room here, so it's a little bit echoey, and I'm also recording in the daytime, so you might hear a little bit of birds outside, a little bit of nature sounds, so do excuse that. But I'm quite excited to be trying out this new room, because I have a lot more distance, so I can have some nicer shots here. But yeah, basically the drawing I'm wanting to do, I need to lay out a new garden design incorporating what I have been working on already, but trying to set up for a couple of new garden beds. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Basically just going to map out the layout and then try to do a couple of decent drawings for the garden. Alright, so opening up the sketchbook, we have the design that we did last time. So this is for the future house design, and just in here is the garden section, which I now will be working on. So just so we don't have any bleed, I'm gonna skip an extra page. Now, for the design itself, I'm just first going to do a very rough, basic kind of sketch for the layout. So at the moment there's a shed sitting about here. Then we have across from there the hedge that's coming out around there. So the entrance is here. Actually, if the shed's small, we can make this small. So let's say that the hedge actually starts there, comes around to there, and there's the tiny bit. That's a bit more. I'm doing this quite rough because it's one of the more difficult parts, is actually getting the layout right. We have that about there, so that's the entrance coming in. But I still think this is a bit too big. I might just make a sketch up here. Try to fit it all there, so I'm going to draw roughly where the garden bed is. And a shed. So then we have the entrance point at about here. That comes around to there, opens up. That splits off there, or there rather. That splits there, we'll make that there. It's coming around, just like that, splits off. That's looking more like it. We've got compost. Then we would have bed bed thing. We have camellia going past the camellias. There. There's one here, and there's one here. Okay, so that's essentially the layout. So this is a very rough sketch, just to get an idea. So now just down here I might try to do a slightly less rough sketch. So I'll start with that pathway. And it used to have another path, but now it's going to be a bit more like this. Now we have the left. Sorry, not left. We have the open garden bed to the right. This will be the caged garden bed to the left. Camellia, camellia. We have the garden bed that I've just set up. Then we have what will be completed for the rest of the path. Camellia, camellia. So that is a bit more of a neater layout there. Then we also have the other little garden bed that I have made. It currently has a lot of the leafy greens in it, which you will see in my next upcoming gardening video. So, just to quickly label these, we have bed 1, which is caged. And then we have bed 2, which is open. Bed 3, which is going to be somewhat caged. It's going to be more like a barricaded, or having a barrier. So we'll put a B A R R for barricade or barrier. Then we have bed 4, and this is going to end up just being mainly her bed, but we're going to keep it in the plan here. So we can see now that we have this. Now this path is basically just opening straight up to the garden, as well as coming around entrance points for both of these beds here. So it's all very easy to access. I'm also trying to plan out where the water access will be, so where the shed is at the moment, just here, I have a hose that's running from the other side of the property to there, and it's on a little reel, so I've got the hose there with a little nozzle, so that can quite easily be brought through the garden, but I think I want to have some better irrigation than that, so I'll have to plan that out. The other thing that I'm working out at the moment is the fencing for the garden. So we have camellia there and there, and then we also have a cactus. Just do a little thing there, so we need to incorporate these things into it as well. Going from the shed, we have compost here with the kitchen scrap compost bin being on the edge there. So I need to have access to that now. It could be quite easy to walk through the garden at night and access that. It would probably be the most sensible as well, considering that we have a hedge line running through this way that we're trying to fill out, and we don't want to create extra spaces. So I think rather than, we also have this path running here, but it kind of ends off going to underneath the camellias here. So I think what I'll have to do is make it so the fence runs behind the camellia, connects up with the tree with the water access for me past the fence. I have a little gate there, so it'll be okay, and then we also want a little gate here. That means I can then pretty easily run the fence to go around into the cage. Then from the cage, we can run past the open garden. And the other thing is that I've just recently had a fence installed that runs along kind of like that, so I should be able to just connect it straight off there, which would probably be the sensible thing, or I can have it run a little bit down if I want more access for the grassy area. But that is essentially it for the design here. I've got it pretty well laid out. The only thing that's not there at the moment is that shed that runs about, oh, it sits a bit further over actually. It sits about, there. Now, one thing that you'll find through this video is I don't sharpen my pencils, and that's because I'm lazy, but also because I kind of like to work with whatever end is there, see if I can get some cool shading textures by the end, especially starting with a bit more of a prominent tip for the hard lines, and then eventually having a bit more of a flat surface for But yeah, in a moment I'll just get onto the final drawing design. And for this one, I think we'll have to have a landscape rather than portrait. Now for this drawing it would definitely help if I had a ruler, but I had a look everywhere and I couldn't find a ruler, so I'm just going to have to try to do this all pretty freehand. And the semi-difficult thing is I'm going from, well, I'm having to rotate it to be able to keep an eye on the layout, but that's okay. Luckily, I'm going to be drawing something that's going to be quite intricate and side angle, so it's not a bird's eye view. So firstly, I need to start with what would be the back side. And this is going to be a half image looking from about here. The view range of that. So we'll be looking through a couple of trees and looking through the beds. So I'll be doing a fair bit of layering to try to get this drawing to work, but I'm essentially in my mind just imagining where everything is. So we got most of the garden in here. Just to get these lines right, I'm just gonna kind of give my imagination the right directions. So the straightest line is about there. Then it's going to be a bit more gradually spreading out. That's how field of view. And then we got essentially like that. Okay. So to start off, I think I should try to lay out where these camellias are. It's a little bit difficult, so I'm going to also do the path, which would be going through here. Actually, to get this right, I should probably a bit of a rough outline there. Oops. So yeah, and say it goes to there. So let's run it past. Be about there where the not shed, where the garden bed there starts. Meaning that here is where we have the larger garden bed. Sorry, a smaller garden bed. I'm so concentrated on trying to get this right in the foundations I can't even speak right. Then we have around there, a bit smaller. One of the community basins. That might be a little bit too far over actually. Oh, it's a bit more there actually. That's a lot better. Alright, there. So we've got 3 of those. Then across the pathway. The pathway is like this. We have the cutaway. It's a lot more like that. That's better. So, now that we can arrange that a bit better, we can find where that corner of the shed is. And that might actually be a bit too far over as well. It's not super close there, we got that. Runs to there, we got that. Camellia, about there, camellia about there. So the shed would start about here. Not too much different. So it would be around about that. But that line's a bit too deep. Maybe a bit more like that. That one really a bit more like that. I'm not too fussed about doing some of these lines extra hard or extra bold, even if I'm erasing them out, because I can just draw over them later. It's all just one-dimensional colour, so it's quite simple really. Okay, so now we've determined that basically anything that's over this side can disappear. I might just do a little bit of that garden bed there though. Realistically, it's probably coming over quite further, so it's fine. this all drops off here. And we're going to put in that further bend. Obviously not too long, but like that. And here the caged bed is here. I want that one to be not quite that long, but more like, yeah, that's the sort of thing. Okay. Now I have the general kind of structure. I can start to work out what's going to be included in the frame and what won't be. So we know the shed's quite close. There's also a couple camellias here, which take up quite a bit of view, but I'm going to leave them out just for this purpose, except for this one. So I think I want to just do something just through there, it's a bit like that. You can kind of just get away with a bit of a random sketch for these. They're not too important. Now I did just print them, so they are in person this lanky, which is quite weird for a camellia, but we'll essentially just I kind of shaped them like gum trees now that I think about it, which is a bit funny. So we got that one there. That's quite easy to manage with. We'll put in this one, which is just a couple little arms. It's pretty small. Kind of sits in like that. This one is a lot more bushy. It's a lot more like a traditional camellia, so there's not much branch structure. So it'd probably be, this might be a bit more difficult for me to draw. It's essentially like little flowers, like a Christmas tree. Okay, leave that for now. I'll come back to it a bit later. Now I'll just come through and make sure there's no lines in the trees. There is another camellia I've forgotten about. It's here as well, so I might just come in and do something like that. Should be pretty chill. Not too fussed about how those look. Again, this is more so about the garden layout, and I want that to be a lot more detailed than the trees or anything else. You know what? totally did a silly there. That's meant to be with a roof. So I might just cut that one back. Okay. So, there's a couple more camellias I probably should do, like this one that is here. Overtaking the path. I might make it just a bit like a... Yeah, and then there's another one here and another one here, so we'll put those ones in. I think the shed is actually way bigger than it's meant to be. It should be a bit more like and I probably should have sketched all of this with ladder lines, but that's okay. More like this is definitely accurate. So now we can bring in more of that path there, there. And this tree. Oh, excuse me, I'm just a big stomach rumble. Need a bit of food. Yeah, this tree is a lot more like there. And it comes down to a certain point that you can imagine through the shed is like that. So with our see-through shed there, makes a bit more sense. He's definitely out of spot, so just change this again. We got one that sits about there, one that sits around about there, and they're pretty large, so we'll put in a couple of things like that. I'm getting this shed just completely wrong. That's too far over. Those bushes are definitely there. The shed has to be starting here. That makes more sense. Comes down to there. It's down. Okay. think that's most certainly better. So I'm going to be bush that sits here, big bush that sits here. There's big branches and arms to it. I'll do more detail to those later. We've got those laid out now, so then yes, this makes a lot more sense. Hedge line runs through like that. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of not worry as much about that section down there. Here's where we're going to have a bit more fun. So I'm just gonna make a bit of a fence here. Bam, that's one of the card bits we need. Slightly larger. Caged card bit here. Warped parts again. Alright, and we just need that's I think I might have to do it like this. Not a lot of plants in it. Alright. And then this will be a little part of the fences here, as well as just here. We'll just have to go through the hedge for now. We'll redesign that in the future. Unless, of course, I've done the hedge too far out, which I probably have done. The hedge is probably more like okay. Alright, just like that. Okay. Path there. A little bit of that garden bed in there as well. Roughly like that. It's definitely taking some shape now. So, last thing I want to do is just add the little entrance top. Totally butchered that, that's alright. Somewhat makes sense. So, this is essentially all that I'm doing for this drawing. It's a lot less detailed at the moment than the other drawings I've been working on, but this is just a bit of a garden design, trying to kind of bring my imagination to life with my vision of what this garden would end up looking like. So to me, when I look at this, I can see all the details that would be filled in all the way, even the rest of the house and yard. But to someone else, this might just look like a pretty random little sketch. But I'm pretty happy that I got the dimensions fairly right for this. Now I can look at starting to finish the design, knowing that it's probably going to work. So the plan in the next few weeks Later this week I have another gardening video coming, for those of you who might be keen. After that, I'm going to be trying to renovate the garden as fast as possible before the spring properly rolls around. It's mid-September at the moment, but it's still quite rainy and cold, so it's not quite planting season just yet, but we're almost there now. So yeah, it's gonna take a little while for this design to come to life. At the moment, it's obviously just an idea, but the goal is to turn it into reality in the short time that I have before summer. So we'll see how we go there. Hopefully we can get some kind of a progress soon, but yeah. The plan for each specific garden bed is pretty crucial at this stage. I've been making sure that I get all the spacing right for everything I want to grow. So in the little garden bed down here, this will be for eggplant, chili, cucumber and zucchini. I'm also going to do some try out some other types in the larger garden bed, but that's also going to be for things like lettuces and summertime green crops, like kale and a couple of other things. But they're more likely actually to go into the caged bed, which will be for tomatoes, strawberries, maybe eggplants as well, definitely kale, and other things that might need some protection from pests and animals. So that's why I have a garden bed, or a caged garden bed, in the works. It will also be for plants that can't really handle the hot sun. There's 40-degree days in summer in Australia that can just kill everything. So I'm going to have a sunshade on top, and that should keep everything inside nice and happy. But yeah, that's essentially it for this little drawing. It's just a little sketch. Definitely not a piece that I'm going to be displaying or anything, but let's still put in the little signature anyways. I'll probably end up coming back and work on this a little bit here and there, but yeah, that's essentially it for now. But yeah, that's it for this one. Just a little test to see how to design this garden so we can get planting. This has also been a little bit of a test for the new setup here. I'm pretty happy with this new light that I have. It's been very easy to be able to do different camera setups and just have a big stationary light there the whole time. And now I can use 2 color lights for the background, which is really nice. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. it was a little bit unorganized and I didn't speak here and there, so I hope it was still relaxing. I'll hopefully do a couple more of these soon, but I will catch you next with the outdoor gardening video, episode 2 or 3. 2. Alright, thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.